age-related memory loss is something that everybody experiences as they get older. And it is really distinct and different from diseases of aging like Alzheimer's disease. In normal aging, we typically experience some difficulty paying attention to things. We may misplace items a little bit more frequently than we had in the past. People may say they feel a little bit slower in their thinking. We may have a little bit more difficulty learning or absorbing as much information as we were able to when we were younger. But we are able to still retain information that we learn over time. So even though we may learn a little bit less, we're able to hold on to what we learn over time. And that is really the sort of hallmark difference between normal aging and Alzheimer's disease, which is the most common form of dementia in adults over the age of 65 years old. And so in Alzheimer's disease, the primary problem is that we have difficulty retaining or holding on to information over time. And it can be a little bit scary for older adults when they experience things like misplacing their keys or having trouble coming up with the name of somebody that they feel like they should know, because they can worry that this might be the very beginning stages of something like Alzheimer's disease. I would say that for people that are worried about their memory, the best way to find out whether your memory loss is normal or not is to talk to your doctor about your concerns, and your doctor may then refer you to specialists that can do specialty evaluations of memory to see if what you're experiencing is normal for age or maybe something a little bit more concerning. We know now that there are a number of lifestyle factors that help people's brains age more successfully. And some of them that we often talk about are exercise and diet, and then social stimulation. And so really just briefly with exercise, we know that exercise can help improve people's capacity for learning new information, can help to grow new neurons in the brain, and the current recommendations for exercise, and this is really cardiovascular or aerobic activity that pumps blood to the brain, are 150 minutes of exercise over the course of a week, which basically boils down to 5 days, 30 minutes a week of aerobic activity. And it's probably one of the most helpful things that we can do to preserve our brain health. In terms of diet, the Mediterranean diet is the most well-studied diet as it relates to the health of the aging brain. And the Mediterranean diet emphasizes practices like eating fish at least twice a week, eating red meat and sugar sparingly, having a lot of leafy greens and vegetables at every meal, eating good fats, things like avocado, nuts, fatty fish like salmon, and eating fruits, and really focuses on a diet of whole health. One of the things to be aware of for people that get a little bit nervous that they have to be perfect in terms of their diet is that there is research that suggests that as long as we adhere to a Mediterranean-like diet, so that we don't have to be perfect all the time, but as long as we're generally eating healthy, that is good for the health of our brains. And then the final point with socialization or social stimulation is that we really should try to remain active throughout our lives in the community, with friends, with family. Older adults are at greater risk for being isolated because of a reduction in social networks that can occur because of retirement or the death or loss of friends and family moving away. And so it is very important that as we get older, we continue to engage ourselves in the community and continue to socialize with people and engage with people. We know that loneliness and isolation is a risk factor for the development of dementia. It's a good question. I think that people are very invested in trying to do whatever they can to preserve their brain health, and so the lure of doing some brain games a couple of times a week or every day is there. The research seems to suggest that playing these brain games or engaging in these brain games improves how one feels about their memory and thinking. So people sort of say, oh, I feel better. I think that things are going better since I've been using this game. And it also improves how well people play the game. So people get better at the task or the game that they're engaged in. But there is less literature that suggests that there are real changes in the brain that take place that make a difference in functioning in everyday life. And so right now we would suggest that people reserve their time and energy and financial resources to doing other things, like going out with friends and family and engaging in other cognitively stimulating activities like taking a class or going to a museum. I think that is a sort of question that still needs to be answered. There is some small research that suggests that socialization over social media platforms can be beneficial. I think that there are probably many things that you get from socializing in person that you don't necessarily get from socializing over social media. Just simply, for example, the mobility that it takes to get out of the house, maybe drive or walk to a friend's house. I mean, you do have to engage in some form of physical activity in order to engage in that type of in-person socialization. You're also exposed to a different environment. You're a little bit outside of your comfort zone, so you may be cognitively challenging yourself in in-person socialization in a way that may be a little bit different with telesocialization. But I do suspect that remaining connected and socializing over a social media platform is better than nothing, is better than not socializing at all, although that's just sort of my clinical intuition and not based on research that I've read. I do think that a large majority of older adults start to worry about their memory failing as they get older, and we know from research that a small minority of older adults actually raises those concerns to their doctor. And so I think I would just encourage people that are worried about their memory to talk openly about their concerns to their physician, because there are things that we can do for people if they are experiencing memory loss. There are treatable conditions that can cause memory loss as people get older, like vitamin deficiencies or changes in thyroid function, where we can intervene and reverse the memory loss, make things better for an individual. But even in conditions like Alzheimer's disease, there are things that early in the disease course can sort of help somebody plan for their future and perhaps even function a little bit better in day-to-day life. So I do think it's important that people are talking about these things.